ahead and bring in our next guest. He's been waiting patiently here, and it's always great to have Kenneth Gutman with us. He's the superintendent of Walled Lake Schools. Thank you for being with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Thank you so much, Ronnie and Tyler. It's always great to be here and talk to the two of you. And certainly these are interesting times. So it's nice to have a chance to publicly talk about a lot of what's going on.
So since we were just talking about high school sports, do you want to fill us in with what's going on over at Walled Lake?
Absolutely. Well, so high school sports are happening. And so we're taking every precaution we can. We had 3 football games last night. We have our other sports, our fall sports going on. 2 tickets per family. 1 must be an adult, obviously. We're doing some of the ticket cashless sales where we can, doing our best to keep everyone safe. So we had our first home game, and we'll have a couple more home games coming up. And you know, the news out of Lake Orion and the news out of Novi is a concern, obviously. And so we're watching that really carefully. We hope we can continue with the season, and we hope we can reopen our schools soon too.
So when you do hear stories like what's happening at the other schools, what's the conversation with the students? Do they realize what is at stake here if they do test positive?
I think they do. I think that, you know, our students are well aware of what happens if they test positive. We've been very clear with everyone that, you know, obviously a positive test is going to shut down a football team. It's going to shut down a classroom. It's going to shut down a school or a district. So we want to be really careful with how we proceed, both athletically and academically.
Kenneth Gutman with us on the Oakland County MegaCast today. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, joining us today on the broadcast. The Walled Lake Consolidated School District, of course, our Facebook partner on today's edition of the Oakland County MegaCast, and we welcome all of you tuning in on the Walled Lake Consolidated School District's Facebook page. So, Ken, let's transition from sports to school. The school year is well underway. Walled Lake is in virtual learning to begin the year for at least the first 10 weeks, as we've previously spoken about. So far, so good. How is that going?
Well, so I don't know that I would fully say so far so good. It's hit and miss. First of all, our teachers are doing a great job. Our parents are doing a great job supporting their kids to the degree they can. Our administrators are also doing a wonderful job. But no one's going to pretend that online learning equals in-person instruction. There is no way they're equal. And so it's going as well as I think we could have expected. There are glitches, there are internet outages, there are issues, a little bit of Zoom bombing inappropriately that we've hopefully curbed to a greater extent. There's a lot that we love, and there's a lot that we don't love. And so as we move forward, we'd like to be able to give the option for some in-person instruction. And we're meeting with our Board of Education in a board workshop next Thursday night to talk about how we could potentially phase in some in-person instruction, maybe beginning with younger children and working our way up, doing it carefully and in a measured way. And those who would want to keep their children home still, because we know that not everyone's comfortable sending their children back to school, we would have an option for them as well. So nothing's been determined. I want to be clear about that. We have a board workshop on the 24th and then a board meeting on the 1st where we will make some good decisions.
So Ken, you mentioned Zoom bombing. That's the first time I've heard that term, but maybe a blooper reel at the end of all of this could be in the works. I know that a lot of school districts were having problems getting Chromebooks for all the students. Did Walled Lake provide those to the students, and were you able to get a supply? How are you guys in that area?
I'm happy to say our technology department was ahead of the curve on that. We got all of our Chromebooks in plenty of time. We got them out as quickly as we could, including holding all-day pickups for the Saturday and Sunday before school started. I had the honor of being able to go in and spend some time with everyone as they were distributing Chromebooks on that weekend. And wow, they were dedicated. They were working hard. They were getting everything out. So we got them in on time, we got them out on time, and we were able to provide thousands of Chromebooks for students.
That's amazing. The IT department really superheroes during all of this.
For sure.
When it comes to Chromebooks, or if a student has his or her own computer, how does that work? Because even, us as adults, like my husband has Microsoft, I had Mac, some programs work on one, some flash drives work on another. Is it an even platform? Is that a requirement that everyone has the same computer so everyone's on the same system? What's that doing? How's that working?
So I'm not a tech guy, Ronnie, but I'll say this. I'm told that Zoom is is device agnostic and that it will work across Apple and iOS platforms. And so, no, that has not been a requirement that everyone have the same type of computer. There are districts that are what they call one-to-one, where they have a device for every student. We've not gone that way. We're a BYOD, bring your own device district. So we do have a wide variety of devices that we have available and that students choose to utilize on their own.
Kenneth Gutman joining us on the program today. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. So can you talk about the bumps in the road along the way so far as the virtual school year has begun? How are the teachers holding up? How are Walled Lake's educators doing? What are some of the needs that they have brought to the attention of the administration as they continue to also work through and innovate as this unique school year begins?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for using the word innovate too, Tyler, because there's nothing but innovation going on right now. None of us saw this. So you think back a year ago, we were doing outstanding instruction in our classrooms as usual. Our teachers are, I am in awe of what they're achieving in the classroom. Teaching's hard. Teaching's really hard, face-to-face, in person every day. It is significantly more difficult online. The hours they're putting in, the sweat, tears, and let me emphasize the blood as well. They're working so hard right now. They want to get back to in-person instruction to the degree they can too, as long as we can keep them safe. And so bumps in the road, look, education is about relationships. It's about developing strong relationships with students and staff. In person, last year, it was easier to do online because our staff had already established relationships with students. Well, starting the year remotely like this, you haven't established a relationship. So you're trying to establish a relationship on Zoom with so many students in your class. And while we're better instructionally in the fall, it's a challenge to develop those relationships. My heart goes out to our teaching staff. They are so good at what they do. They're doing amazing right now. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's to their own detriment. They're exhausted.
Yeah, and Ken, I wonder about the relationships amongst the students as well, because they're kind of in the same boat. They were in their classrooms with their students last year when they got sent home. So they already had those relationships, but now they're starting the school year fresh, maybe with people they don't know. Is there anything being done to try to address like classroom to classroom, maybe breakout classes or something of that nature so that those students can come together? Because so many times you get that support from one another, not necessarily from the teacher.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We do have breakout rooms within the class. A lot of them are breaking off into groups, doing some group work and then doing some independent work and then coming back to screen time, which is still a little bit heavy. But it is a challenge to have those relationships. I mean, you think about the number of students who report that they come to school to see their friends, and education is a good byproduct of it. We know that it's a challenge to develop those relationships for kids as well.
Ken Gutman joining us on the Oakland County Megacast across the local area, also on the Facebook page of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District today. So Ken, let's talk about technology more, because there's so much that is being utilized by school districts, whether it be Google Classroom, whether it be Zoom, whether it be other software that's being used. Is Walled Lake sticking to one specific form? Are they sticking to multiple forms of technology, and are there others that are maybe being considered as you communicate with other school districts throughout the local area, throughout the state, throughout the country and the world to make maybe a more effective experience for teachers and students and families alike as they continue virtually?
Thanks, Tyler. We're currently a Zoom district, but we are transitioning to Google Meet very soon. And we're looking to do that at the beginning of October, and not all in one day, but we're looking to do a transition at that point. But that's the platform we've chosen to use at this point, and we expect it to be a really smooth transition. We waited while they upgraded their program, and now we look forward to moving to that.
Ken Gutman with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Superintendent, you mentioned that you would like to look into and you're hoping to transition back into the classroom at some point in time, and even if it's a few students at a time. Is this something that could actually happen this semester, or would it be next semester?
There's a rumor that I kept hearing, and I get some emails from a few parents saying, why aren't you being transparent? We hear you're out until January. So let me address that. It's a really good question. We have not made a determination that we're out past October 30th. Nothing's been decided after October 30th. However, that's why we're meeting over the next couple of weeks. I think it is entirely feasible we can start phasing students in at the beginning of November with leaving an online option. So we have to determine a couple of things before we can make that happen. Whether we can, we're currently offering both a synchronous and an asynchronous option, a My Path and an Our Path option. Can we offer both and still offer an in-person option? How do you restaff 800 to 900 teachers over the next several weeks to make that happen? There's a lot of work that has to happen behind the scenes. But to your question, Ronnie, yes, we could potentially have students phasing back in starting in November. Again, no, nothing's been decided.
Right. And I'm sure that you'll communicate with the teachers, the staff, and the parents to let them know when that decision does come down. You guys have been great with your transparency and your communication. I follow you on social media and I see a lot of your posts as well. So talking a little bit about the teachers, I know going into this year, there was a concern that maybe there was going to be a shortage of teachers and definitely substitute teachers. How is your district on that side of the equation during this? Are you all set?
We're staffed and we feel pretty good about it. We're fortunate in Walled Lake that we're kind of away from that whole shortage issue, although it's working its way in. We do see that in a lot of major cities across the country, the teacher shortage starts in an urban area and works out from there, as does the substitute shortage. We've been insulated from that. We still have an ability to attract high quality candidates for all of our positions. And we still, even though we know that time to time there have been some sub shortages that we've dealt with, it hasn't been as major of an issue as it has been in some urban and inner ring suburbs.
Ken Gutman joining us. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District with us on the Oakland County MegaCast today. Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM and 88.1 WBFH, the BIF. In addition, we are on the Facebook page of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. And Ken, I'm looking down here at the Facebook page as we're playing the live video, and there are a lot of parents that are watching and are asking questions. What is the school district's involvement in terms of parents in the discussions regarding future plans for this semester, including plans for potential return in the future to in-person learning in some capacity or in great capacity?
We love the involvement of our parents and welcome their questions, and we hope that they'll send them to info@wlcsd.org. So we have the opportunity to respond to them. I'd encourage our parents to continue to watch our board meetings. We're streaming them live on Vimeo. The information's on our website. The information for the September 24th meeting should be on our website soon. We want to make sure that everyone hears the discussion that's taking place, that we're able to address their issues. We value their input, whether they agree with what we're doing or don't agree. We do want to hear it. So we're really thankful for that. I know our original board meeting earlier in the year, just prior to school, we ended up having a couple thousand people watching. We had a couple hundred people watching the last one. We really want that involvement. We want them to know we are being as transparent as we could be. There's nothing to hide here. We want our kids back in school too. We also want to make sure we have an option to keep everyone safe who wants to stay home. And we're working on that. We're looking at the data from the CDC. We're getting better data now from the Oakland County Health Department. We want to do everything we can to ensure that everyone is kept safe, that's students and staff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits that's going to come out of this, the access to some of these meetings, public meetings, the school board meetings, because it is much easier to tune in if it is online from your home. You can jump in, jump out, and kind of do it by your schedule. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what happens when people test positive. At this point in time, it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when. What is the protocol there at Walled Lake?
Well, we're developing that currently. Actually, I just got an email this morning with some potential protocols that we're looking at, but we're also relying heavily on the Oakland County Health Department. They're now doing weekly calls with all 28 Oakland County superintendents. We met with them last night, and we're trying to understand a little bit better about what they expect as well. We're not medical professionals. I will give a shout out to Oakland County, who's provided they provided three health nurses, public health nurses to the Walled Lake schools for a period of time. And we're working closely with them as well to make sure that when someone tests positive, we have a protocol in place that protects everyone and is also transparent, and we're able to communicate that effectively.
Ken Gutman with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. So flu season also coming up in the next several weeks. It will begin and it will run through the next several months. Over that, a lot of concern from the medical community regarding the flu and the COVID-19 continuing to be in the mix together. Is that something that's also being discussed at the school district level with the Oakland County Health Department? And what maybe are your plans or your discussions, at least at this moment in time, in terms of curbing that double-headed monster, so to speak?
We're all very concerned about that, Tyler. I don't know anyone who's not. I don't know that anyone who has the answer about how to deal with that, except that we'll continue to remind our students, should they be in person or should they be virtual, to follow all best practices to keep themselves safe, wash their hands, keep distance from people. We're all worried about the confluence of the flu with COVID, and don't know what to expect with that, except that we'll do everything we can to keep people safe within our means.
Ken, just another couple of minutes with you. Anything else that you'd like to discuss today before we let you go?
Sure. What I'd like to just share with you is I feel very fortunate to work in a community that, whether they agree or disagree with the district, are involved, are vocal about their agreement or disagreement, and continue to fight for every child every day. We don't all have to agree on everything. We never will. But as long as we're all working from a point where we're looking out for our children, we can have a healthy dialogue. And a lot of communities say that, a lot of people across the world say they value schools. The Walled Lake Consolidated School District community values schools and values children, and we're really fortunate to be with them.
Well, Ken, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ronnie.